Jonny, officially welcome to the Wealth Juice podcast, man. I'm excited to have you on the show. We're connected in a mastermind, but this episode to me is really going to stand out because, I haven't really connected with anyone on this podcast that's in the parking business. And I know there's some crossover to real estate and some of the things that we're doing here, just running businesses. So anyway, I appreciate you coming on. This is going to be fun. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I appreciate it, Corey. Excited to be on.
Sweet. So you're originally from Southern California. I know you're in Florida now in St. Augustine. So I'd
Mhm.
love to chat pre-business, like pre, your parking business. Like how'd you get into, I guess, just entrepreneurship in general? And then we'll kind of catch people up to where you're at now.
Yeah. So both my parents have been entrepreneurs. My dad sadly passed away last year, but he was in the parking business for almost 45 years in Southern California. He's from Peru. He came to California in like 1978, started a parking company, and the rest is history. So I grew up in middle school, high school, working private events with him, working beach lots in Venice Beach, Santa Monica, what have you. And my mom, she's same thing. She's been a real estate agent. She had her own parking company at one point. So it runs in our blood. And originally, my intent was to take over my dad's company. So I graduated high school. Then I joined the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps for 5 years, and then I got out of the Marine Corps. And my intent was to help take over the family company. And so I did that for about 18 months, almost 2 years. And then I just decided my vision was different than my dad's because he was, phasing out. He was getting older. He wasn't running his company like a legit business. It was more of like a lifestyle company, like a at home office type of deal, which is fine. But I wanted to have a little more structure, more systems, and like run it like an actual business. So that's what we did. My brother and I, we opened up our own company. It's called Parking Pros. We started in Southern California in 2020 during COVID. So we didn't do shit for revenue that year. I think we did like 40,000 in revenue, and which is fine because we didn't have any expenses either. Like we were just brand new getting started. And yeah, we've been in business almost 6 years. We originally started just doing valet, and that kind of branched into buying and leasing parking lots, and then also offering shuttle services in Southern California. So we can dive into that.
Yeah.
Lots to unpack there.
Yeah, I'd love to chat about all of it, man. I mean, it's funny. There's some parallels here I didn't even realize before having this conversation. I went into my family's business before going off on my own too. I was there for 5, 6 years, maybe 7 years. But they were in the signage business, so they would make signs for
Mm.
hospitals, education institutions, and I knew it's funny because you kind of went into like an adjacent or parallel type business, and I knew not that I didn't want anything to do with that business, but I was just like, I learned so much about business in general, and I knew it wasn't for me. I was the third generation.
Mhm.
I was like, this isn't for me to grow. It was for my father and my uncle to run and grow, and they've since moved on, but I knew that. I had that feeling too. Like this is just not my thing. I didn't. So I, for me, there's so much I want to know about the valet business. Like I'm so genuinely curious about it. My thought process is when there's a valet, like you pull up to a nice restaurant or a hotel or something, like that hotel runs the valet. But I guess in theory, the valet services are partnering with the hotels, and you have your own like you bring the service to the end user, right? So tell me about the business model itself. I'm very curious about it.
Yeah, so the valet, like some hotels, they do have their like in-house valet. Like sometimes if you go to like the Four Seasons, for example, they run their ship so tight and they train everybody to their standard that their valet is like in-house. And that costs more, but the service is a lot more premium, and it's more customizable. Um, but a lot of the places they outsource it to like third party vendors like me, um, or like a big parking operator like Laz or Town Park, or like the kind of like the bigger brands. Um, so yeah, we get contracts with ongoing locations like that. I I don't really like doing restaurants anymore because it's just too much hassle. It's not really, unless it's like a big name restaurant like a Nobu or like a Mastro's or like something with significance behind it. and parking's easy, then I'm interested. But a lot of the times the restaurants, they're not busy enough, they don't have enough margin to pay for valet, and their parking is a nightmare. So
Got
I
it.
try and stay away from the restaurants. Our niche is really private events. So a lot of our business is in Southern California, and there's every house party, every graduation, wedding, funeral, baby shower, what have you, needs parking because parking is very difficult in the greater LA region. So it's a really good business for anything event related, especially valet and shuttles, which is what we do. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So your business is in LA. I want to get into like you mentioned doing 40 grand that first year. Like
Hmm.
what was the way that you're able to scale it past that point? And I didn't realize that you're going like direct to consumer. Like it sounds like a lot of your clients are like the people that are running these parties. It's not necessarily other B2B businesses, or is it both? Like what's the model now, and how'd you start to grow it from since that COVID era?
Yeah. We have a mixture of both. So, like at this point, we've been in business almost 6 years. So we get a lot of referrals and repeats and stuff like and organic outreach. When we were just starting, we were doing a lot of Google ads and Yelp and Thumbtack and just cold calling, knocking on people's doors and stuff like that, passing out business cards. So that's kind of like the beginning stages. But now we still do Google ads because I like to just have a presence online. But right now it's good because we're adding value to a lot of places, and showing that we can add value to venues and these big producers that have these massive events. So, and we're building a nice name for ourselves, and they're referring us to other people, which is great. So we're kind of growing like that.
How did the transition for you being the owner of the company and now like you live I don't know if you could live further away from where a lot of your business is. Do you do business in Florida in St. Augustine as well, or is it you're managing it from a distance? I'm curious on like the decision to go to Florida and how that's impacted or how you've been able to even continue to grow.
Yeah, we do both. So I would say about 80% of our revenue is generated in SoCal. And then I live in Florida. So we're just going to do stuff here as well. So St. Augustine is a unique market because I think it generates like 10% of the tourist revenue in Florida. And it's a super small city. So I don't know if you've ever been here. But yeah, St. Augustine, it's the oldest city in the United States. So there's a lot of historic stuff, and it's really great walking, entertainment and stuff like that. But parking is a bitch. So
Yeah.
like there's nowhere to park, and it's starting to get expensive. So we do a lot of parking lot revenue out here, and we all of our real estate investing has occurred in St. Augustine as well.
So if you've ever tried getting a mortgage, which I'm sure many of you have, you know how daunting and discouraging it can be of a process. The slow process, paperwork, being told no without any real explanation. One time we were even told that taking out a home equity line of credit on an investment property wasn't even possible. So that all changed when we were introduced to Neo Home Loans. What makes Neo different is literally how they approach lending. They're not just checking the boxes, they're legit problem solvers. They look at your entire financial picture and explore multiple angles, literally until they find a strategy that works. They helped us reposition our portfolio, pull out lines of credits to scale, and structure everything for long term growth. And on top of that, their rates were some of the most competitive that we've seen. They just literally did whatever it takes to find a solution. For us, Neo has become our liability advisor. The same way you have a financial advisor on the asset side for the liabilities. If you're serious about building wealth through real estate, it's worth sitting down with them and getting your lending strategy dialed in. If you want to book a call with them, click the link in our show notes. Their team is unreal, but don't just take it from us. Find out for yourself. Okay, cool. So and that's what I wanted to get into because I think I heard you on Rich Summers' podcast. I think I saw you, either you or your brother, maybe it was both of you, I'm not sure, but the the parking lot aspect of this. So do you guys own parking lots as well as the valet service? Is like the parking lot your like investment strategy?
It's one of them. Yeah, the parking lots they're difficult to find because oftentimes if someone's in the parking business or they own a lot that's just printing money with cars, why would you sell that?
Yeah.
So it's like, unless the parents died and the kids don't want it and they just sell it, like that happens. It's very rare, but it happens. So you kind of just gotta luck of the draw. So what can work better sometimes is if you establish leases with businesses. Could be churches, could be restaurants, could be random dentist office that are closed on the weekends. And you just got to find like your market. Could be like San Diego, could be Savannah, St. Augustine, you know, Pittsburgh, I don't know, like cities where parking's really tricky. There's always that possibility. Like I know in Coachella, like Coachella's in 2 weeks and in Coachella, California, and there's people that'll park, they'll probably make 10, 20 grand just parking cars on dirt.
Yeah,
on
I mean, that was like my question here. So, like, just as an example, I went out to dinner the other night in Philadelphia, and I was thinking about this. It's the first time I've ever really thought about it, but I was in a parking garage. Now, the parking garage I think is owned by a large corporation like Phillip Park or something. They have like their big companies, but I was just thinking, I paid, which is probably like not that much to some, maybe SoCal, but I paid $18 or $25 for the night or something. I parked, and I was thinking, man, they're just churning cars in and out. The maintenance is just upkeep on this building that's, meanwhile, the building is exterior, right? And this was
Mhm.
like a 4-story parking garage. I can't imagine how little, in my head at least, how little maintenance there is on dirt lots for sure, or just like regular parking lots. So, like, have you built a strategy to like go lease the kind of like what you said? Do you connect with dentist offices, or like, is that something that you've implemented?
Yeah, it's the best. Like the only way that we've gotten our foot in the door is to like build relationships with the landlords. Like all the leases that we have really strong relationships with. I couldn't imagine just picking up the phone and calling like some random church in Charlotte and saying like, "Hey, I want to rent your lot" or whatever. I mean, I'm sure if you tried enough, it would work, but you're way better off walking in, talking to like the church administrator or like the pastor or something, and like shaking hands, getting coffee. Like, hey, I have a proposal. I see that your lot's empty every single weekend. There's people parking here for free. How about we do a deal where I pay rent and I collect all the money, or we could do like a profit share. And maybe they'll say, "Nah, I'm not interested," or maybe they'll get back to you. So that's
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so, to me, like, I'm not in this business, so I don't really know, but it sounds like kind of a no-brainer to a lot of these companies. If there is a lot that's empty, or you would just staff it, or maybe one person, or put up one of those stanchions or whatever it is, but like staff it, you pay them rent, it's revenue they're not making. Now, this has to be, I guess, there's permitting or jurisdictions that like need that type of stuff to get it going, but it sounds to me like, I don't know if it's a side hustle, but something that could really work if you drive around and you notice on the weekend that there's lots that are empty. And now you'd have to have something, events and stuff coming there. But it's happened to me in Philly. Like, I've been driving around trying to find parking. I'm looking, and there's yeah, like you said, a church or a business that has empty lot, and either no one parks there or people park there for free. And yeah, so I really like that idea. I'm curious about your investing, like the real estate side of what you do. What's your real estate portfolio look like as you've grown it over the past several years?
Yeah, we start when I first moved to Florida, I owned zero real estate, and we moved here in like 2021. So it was a really good time to like buy a single family, low rates and all that good stuff. So my first property was a DR Horton, and then I got another single family. Shouldn't have bought that. But then my brother and we got two triplexes in downtown St. Augustine, and that's when like the Airbnbs were pretty hot. So that was good for like almost 2 years, and then it just fell off a cliff. Like the country opened back up, so people were traveling to other places besides Florida.
Yeah.
so so now we're actually doing like with the two triplexes, we're doing like midterm renting, like on furnished finders and stuff like that. Which is working out because yeah, we're basically breaking even on them. We got good tax benefits from buying those. And then we own a parking lot downtown. We just bought another commercial office because we outgrew the one that I'm in right now. So yeah, a couple commercial buildings, two triplexes. My brother and I, we both have two homes, and we have a bunch of leases on lots. So
Yeah.
good.
I know randomly Flagler College. I don't know how, like, I think maybe my fiance's sister or something went there. I know that's in St. Augustine. So I want, like, when you do midterm rentals, are you renting to like traveling nurses or college students or something of that nature, like maybe professors? Like, who's renting the places in St. Augustine from you?
Yeah, there's a airport nearby, so a lot of flight students. The school for the deaf and blind is nearby, so we get like teachers that come in to teach for whatever 6 months there, or there's like a physical therapy university nearby. So yeah, nurses, doctors, just people that are retired and want to come to St. Augustine for 3 months, 6 months. Um, we don't really get too many college students because they usually book their place like closer to more walking distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your goals with the parking business too? Like, is it, hey, I want to? You said mentioned that 80-20 split of like 80% of your revenues in the LA area, 20% is in St. Augustine. Are you looking to shift it more towards Florida? Like, what's the growth look like? What's the projection? Is there? Do you have a goal with it?
I'm fine with the split. Like I love Southern California, so I'm from that area. I know the demand is huge out there, and we have a really big name out there. Florida, there's not too many like the private events in Northeast Florida is nowhere near what LA, Malibu, Beverly Hills is. So the I'm fine growing it, at the same like percentages how it is. There's there's so much business to capture in California and Florida. I'm not really interested in leaving those states. Like I'd rather just double down on the current, setup how it is. Uh if if a parking lot purchase were to come about in like Savannah or Newport, Rhode Island, I really like. Have you been in Newport, Rhode Island
Yes, I've been to
before?
Newport one time. I was there in like October, and it's like a beautiful time to go there. And it
Yeah.
was amazing. And talk about no parking, like no
Yeah.
parking, but
So
beautiful.
cities like that is like where I would be interested in expanding to lease or to purchase a lot or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But other than that, keep it in California and Florida and just keep doing what we're doing. Yeah. Just
Cool, man. I'm curious about the, like, if you could dive into like some of the inside of the business. Like, I is this something where, you hire like a staff per location? Do you have somebody that's like overseeing the LA operation? Is that you or your brother? Like, how does it work? I'm curious about some of the expenses that come along with it. Like, it's just a new, completely foreign business to me. So I'd like to know more.
yeah, we're actually looking right now. My brother pretty much does all the operation stuff. He does all the scheduling, all the hiring, all the firing, all the dealing with the employees, and I'm more of like sales. I'm more of like vision, tax strategy guy, like stuff like that. And it's nice because we have complementing skill sets. So like I would hate to do his job, and I think he wouldn't be as great at mine. So it's perfect. We're a nice blend. We're looking for somebody to kind of replace his role because it's very time consuming, always on the phone, taking phone calls on the weekends. And so we're actively looking for someone like that, preferably in that's in the parking industry. And what
I'm
was the
just
second
curious on
part of
like
that?
some of
Like
the overhead that comes with it.
overhead.
Yeah, like what's that like?
Yeah, so for parking lots, if you have garages, it's probably a little different, but for lots, all you really need is like lighting, uh, QR codes. You don't even necessarily have to staff it. We like to staff our lots when it's super busy, just in case the technology fails or the signs get blown over or whatever. Someone like vandalizes them. Like you have someone there that way your operation doesn't just die. um, and then in terms of like overhead for valet, you got your insurance, you got workers' comp, payroll costs. Like we do everything legit, so it's all ADP, payroll. You see a lot of valet companies that are smaller that they don't do things the right way. They're paying people cash, and you
It
know,
just gets messy,
uh,
I'm sure.
yeah, it's very tricky.
What's the All right, like, so let's say I'm throwing a private event, right? And I
Hmm.
have, and I'm sure the pricing varies, but like I wouldn't even know what it costs. Let's say I'm holding like hosting. I live in LA. Maybe it's a graduation party. Maybe it's a, I don't know, something of that nature. And I wanted to hire parking pros, or I'm in St. Augustine, whatever it is. Like, you don't have to give away the secret sauce, but I'm curious about like what you would charge for. Is it hourly? Like, how does that operate, and how do you go about it?
Yeah, before I got on the Zoom calls, I got a call from this guy in LA. He's having an event on March 30th from 6 to 8. It's like 75 people. So I quoted him 3 valets for 675.
Okay.
So it's like, and we have a 4 hour minimum. No one's gonna show up to work for 2 hours. So yeah, like I in LA I usually charge about 45 an hour per valet attendant, give or take. If we're super slow, I might do it for less. If we're super busy, I might charge more. But that's like that's like the average per hour. And then there's other things in there, like if you have to pay for parking spaces or permits or
Yeah, that's
insurance, what have
actually
you.
like honestly, in my like just not knowing anything about the biz, that actually seems very reasonable. And then like people that are doing the actual valet, oftentimes I'm sure there's payroll for you, but then they make a lot of tips. Not maybe not like the service industry in terms of if you're serving tables, but the assumption is that if you're valeting, you're getting tips, right? That's like how basically how they're getting paid.
Yeah, a good ratio would be anywhere from like three, like on average, like $3 to $5 a car. Like that should be like if you park 50 cars and you can, if the 3 or 4 guys that are working it, like if they could pull in 250, that'd be nice. You split it however many ways, and then you add that to your hourly. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're not going to get rich parking cars, but it's a great way to, if you're full time, like it could be a decent living wage, and then if it's like your part time thing, it's extra income on the side.
Hey, let me pause the episode real quick. Let me know if this sounds like you. You're making six figures, you're climbing the corporate ladder, investing in your 401k and your Roth IRA, and maybe even a brokerage account. But deep down, you're asking yourself, is this really it? Like, am I just going to do this thing for the next 30 years and hope to retire in my 60s? That was exactly us just a few years back. We were curious and excited about real estate, but overwhelmed and without a roadmap. If you fast forward to today, we've built a portfolio of over 80 cash flowing units and grown our net worth to over $2 million. We made it our mission to help busy professionals like you take that same leap and start building generational wealth for yourself and your family. That's exactly why we created the Wealth Juice Inner Circle, a private real estate investing community designed to help you get your first rental property under your belt in as little as 90 days. Inside, you'll get direct access to us, our full investing network, private off market deals, and our exact playbook, and a community of investors who are closing deals every single week. That first property changed everything for us. We always talk about it. It was the true foundation for building generational wealth. And honestly, if we had access to something like this when we first started, we'd be 10 times further along by now. So if this sounds just like you, click the link in our show notes and schedule a call with me. Yes, me. I'll be taking the calls. We'll go over your goals, map out a plan, and get you ready to close your first deal. Let's get it. But I'm thinking about this way. If I'm listening to this podcast and like maybe I'm young, maybe I'm 18 or I don't know, maybe you have to be 21, whatever. But let's say you're young and I've always said this. I've said this on a couple podcasts. I've had Robert Croak on the podcast, and one of the questions that I asked him, he created Silly Bands. I'm getting
Hmm.
somewhere with the story, but one of the questions I asked him is like, "What would you do if you're going back to your 18-year-old self?" And he said, "I would go work at a restaurant in like the most expensive part of town, and I would work there on the weekends, and then during the week or vice versa, I would be a caddy at a country club, right?" And what's that doing?
Hmm.
That's basically saying like I got to get around people that have money, right? So to
Yeah.
me, if you're having a valet event, like or you're having an event that has valet, like most times, I'm not saying everyone's a multimillionaire, but you're getting like probably more people with money. So if you're young and you're valeting and you show your personality, like you just never know who you can meet. So that I think is the bigger upside to be like, maybe not for you and I who are, I assume you're, in your late 20s and you're running a business and I'm in my 30s. Like, I'm not saying we would do that, but if you're young, like I think that's a great hustle, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I did it. I'm in the office now every day, but like I was parking cars in middle school, high school, like on the weekends in high school. I would at 4:30 on Fridays when all my friends were getting ready, pre-gaming and going out. Like I was getting the parking lot set up at one of my dad's like restaurants. So I would work from like 4 to 11, and then I would go out with like $200 or $300 in my pocket.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
it's
I
like
hope you weren't parking cars in middle school, man. We don't need any 13-year-olds in driving those whips. But yeah, I get what you're
I
saying.
might have I might have parked a couple, but I didn't crash any.
Yeah, very cool. So, yeah, man, this is good. This is a great conversation. I appreciate you sharing all that you're doing. And it's what's it like working with your brother? Like, what's that aspect like? And I have a business partner. Me and Ryan run our business together. He's like a brother. Like that's kind of how I see it. But it's probably a little bit different when it's blood. Are you guys? Would you say that your relationship has become stronger through the partnership? Like, what's the family business is tough, man, and you probably know this
Hmm.
from your dad. Like my relationship with my dad changed when I worked with him, right? And I have a great relationship with him, but I think that's not oftentimes talked about. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have a my brother and I. We've always had a really great relationship, which is awesome. And I think business just made it stronger. We haven't had any fights. Like sometimes we'll like disagree on stuff, but then we just talk about we look at it objectively and we look at the pros and cons and we weigh stuff out. And if it's like your idea is not great and here's why, and then we'll like bounce ideas back and forth. It's honestly it's a we have a very healthy business relationship and family relationship. So I'm very blessed and grateful to have him. Like I said, he does all the things that I wouldn't want to do, like in terms of the operation. So yeah, I think in business, like I did a basically a podcast with like Pepperdine, my old marketing professor last week, and I told the students in her class, someone asked something, similar question to you, like, how's it like working with your brother? And I was like, there's like probably two of the most important decisions you can make in your life is who you marry and who you decide to have as a business partner should you open a company. So you really got to spend time and analyze and get to know that person before just like creating an LLC because it's it's easy to yeah, it's easy when everyone's excited in the beginning, and then when shit gets tough,
Dude,
you
that
got to
is
make
so
sure you're
true.
aligned.
Yeah, I know people that are family members that haven't talked to their brother, sister, whatever, because of business from years ago, and they go years without speaking because of money. And like, I just
Hmm.
never, I mean, me and Ryan kind of have this rule. It's like, I would never put money over our relationship no matter what. Like, it just wouldn't, it just, the whole purpose of to make money is to be able to spend it with people that you enjoy spending time with. So like that, yeah, I think that people lose that especially in family business. It's, think about this. I was at a closing the other day for one of my clients. I'm in this real shirt, so I'm in the agent business, and there was four sons and daughters of it was an estate sale of a property I was helping a flipper get into, and they were at the table like arguing over like $800, and it was a free and clear property. They were all going to make money, and they hated each other. You could tell they hated each other. So it's just like that's the type of stuff that is like just hope. Now I'm only in my 30s, maybe I'm in my 60s. Things change, but like because they were older, but just yeah, I would just never want to put money above your relationship. So I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but um, yeah, man. So this is good stuff. I think I've already talked to you about like kind of the vision for your company and where you want it to go. One of the last questions I have is if you could break down like one of the leases on your lots in terms of like what this thing would even profit. I think it gives people ideas of like this is something that I can go replicate. Now maybe it's not in the same area, but like can you give kind of a breakdown of what you would pay in rent for one of the parking lots and then what type of revenue that brings in and the time spent per month on it maybe.
Yeah, one of our lots, first lot we ever got was trying to think here. It's got like 12 spaces in it. Um, and we really only operate it on the weekends. And that lot will probably do about anywhere from like 90 to 100K in revenue. And then the rent, we just pay like a flat monthly rent. It's $1,500 a month.
Oh wow.
So
So you'll do 90 to 100K for the year and then that's 18,000 if that math comes out right. And then
mhm.
I mean I can't imagine your expenses are crazy on something like that, right?
So call it 90K, worst case, minus the rent, 18. That's 72,000 before like any other expenses and stuff like that. It's very minimal expense. If we're not when that's our first lot. So like when my brother and I, we would work that on the weekends ourselves when we were just getting started. Now we've kind of grown, and I'd rather spend my weekends with my family. So we'll have an employee work it, let them get some hours. Um, so yeah, that's if you wanted to work it, that's what you'd make. If you wanted to have somebody else work it, add in payroll and some other minor expenses. But yeah, it's
But even if
something
it
like
was
that.
70, okay, so 70 grand. All right, let's say you
Mhm.
had another even 20 for the year of expenses, which seems like that would be a lot, but like you're still $50,000 on a lot that you're only, using or working on the weekends. How did you create the relationship on this one specifically to get your foot in the door to get them to allow you to use the lot?
We literally walked in and asked the owner if if they were interested, and she was like, I think she said something along the lines of, "Tell me more." And we sat down and talked, and she had to talk it over with her son, and they liked us, and we've been there for like 5 or 6 years.
What type of
So
business is it that's the lot?
it's a real estate office. So they're closed on. They might be open on the weekends, but they don't get a lot of traffic. So it's just extra income for them.
Dude, if you're listening to this podcast and like go find these open space lots, I would imagine it probably has to be in like, would it work in the suburb, like a super suburban area? No, it's got to be the city, right? Like it's something in the city. Or I know LA is very different, like layout wise. I'm in Philadelphia. Like Philadelphia is kind of like more block by block. There's less parking lots. LA is a little bit more spread out. So the city's different. But dude, if you're listening to this podcast, think about that as like you walked in there. What business doesn't want it's passive income for them? Like truly. Like that's actually kind of passive income. So pretty cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, yeah, that was, and then and then you get those, and then that gives you some street credibility. Then you can go to like the one 4 blocks down and say, "Hey, we're doing the parking over at XYZ. Would you be interested?" And we got a lot of no's, and then a lot of times you give them the idea, so now they have the idea like, "Oh shit, these guys." Yes. And then 3 weeks later, they're doing it themselves. So it's like whatever,
Yeah,
you
no,
can't
that's
win
great. I
them
mean,
all.
that
Yeah,
makes sense. Like you probably go in there, they might be able to do some math if they see a sign that says $25 a park and they're like, man, these guys are making a killing. Like I'll, go through the rest of this lease with them and then do it themselves. Yeah. I mean but hey, that's just part of the cost of doing business. Some
yes.
people.
That's why you gotta own the dirt, so
Exactly.
you don't
Yep.
get kicked out. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I would recommend, if you're listening to this and you're trying to get into it, like try and tie something up. If you really see value, do a long term lease. Like you can still do like a 30-day or 60-day cancellation, but get your foot in the door for a while, like 2, 3, 4 years minimum.
Hey, that was going to
Um,
be one of my last questions is like if you were recommending somebody to get into either the valet business or the parking lot business, like what were some actionable steps that you give them? It sounds like you've kind of already named some, just like go create the connections with these people that are business owners. You never know if you don't ask, right? But do you have any other
mhm.
like, constructive feedback for people that's like, this sounds great. I want to go try to do this. Is there anything that we're missing?
For valet or the parking lots.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could talk about both.
Yeah, for valet is very. It's not a very high barrier to entry. So like create an LLC, you get some insurance, do some marketing, whatever that is to you. And I would just recommend doing things the right way from the get go. Like if you're going to get in a business, treat it like a business. Don't treat it like a side hobby or something. Like do it legit. Make sure your people are clocking in, clocking out, payroll, taxes, everything. Make sure you have strong, because you're dealing with employees. Like you're going to have the employees are the ones, they're the quote unquote products, because like they go out and service your customers. So you need to make sure you have good onboarding paperwork. And yeah, it's in this.
Yeah, for that business, it's like you're doing if you're doing valet parking, you're driving somebody else's car. Like there is
Hmm.
liability there, right? Like there's
Hmm.
liability of like if they said that you damaged it, but you didn't damage it, it was already damaged before, I can imagine that insurance obviously plays a role, but you just don't want any like just anyone driving these cars, right? So that's
Hmm.
probably the vetting process to me. It sounds like it'd be like of high importance.
Yeah, yeah, definitely vetting. I like when we onboard people, we like them to. It's almost a requirement at this point to because we have a lot of team members. We're not like we want to keep the group. We just want to have solid people that already have parking experience. Like you got to come with the professionalism and the expertise already dialed.
Love it, man. Well,
Hmm.
look, if you're listening to this podcast and you want to get into the valet business, like I know that you run a community now, right? So can you tell me about like, aren't you helping people learn this business as well? Is that part of what your day to day is?
Yeah, it's more of like it's not necessarily community. It's more of like one-on-one coaching. Yeah, and we have a couple different packages, and uh, our my first client was in Miami, and he works for a valet company. He's looking to do his own thing. He's more of like on the equipment side, like kind of like what your parents were, like signs and stuff.
Yeah,
He wants to do like name tags and podiums and cones and kind of do like a company like that. And he's in the mix of doing that. We just started our second one. He's in Oahu, Hawaii. He's looking to get into parking lots, and so I have a call with him in 20 minutes. So we're gonna hopefully get him some business in Oahu.
love it.
So
Yeah, I mean, it
yeah,
seems like this type of business is like there's different jurisdictions and they may or may not work in every single market, but sounds like valet is valet and parking lots are parking lots, right? So it's like, obviously you have to go through some of the nuance, but this could really work in a ton of places. Now, if you're doing it in like the middle of nowhere, Montana, like if there's no need for parking, you obviously have to have the demand. But this is great, man. So, if people want to learn more about you, they want to connect with you, just hear more about the parking and the valet business. Like, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
yeah. Shoot me a DM on Instagram, Parking Mogul. I'm pretty active on there. Our website, if you actually want like services for like an event or something, would be valetparkingpros.com. Um, I think those are the two best ways.
Sweet. Well, Johnny, this has been great, man. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on and taking the time to share your story with us. And yeah, man, it's been awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Corey. Yeah, if you're looking to get into the parking world, I would love to share some stories and give you some advice. So don't be shy. Go ahead and reach out.
Sweet. Before we wrap this show up, I want to leave you with this. If you're listening to the show, chances are you're doing pretty well in your career. You're making maybe six figures. You're putting money into your retirement accounts, maybe stacking some cash in a brokerage account, but you're still waiting for that next level. And here's the truth: waiting just costs you time. Every month you're on the sidelines is another month you could have had a property paying you and another step closer to financial freedom that you didn't take. Ryan and I know this because we stayed on the sidelines too long. We talk about this sometimes. We had the money, but not the guidance. And once we finally got our first property, everything shifted. It was the catalyst that built our entire portfolio and ultimately gave us freedom. And that's exactly why we built the Wealth Juice Inner Circle, to cut out wasted time, just give you the exact blueprint and surround you with a network of people who are closing deals every single week. So if you're tired of waiting and you're ready to finally get your first deal, click the link in the show notes and schedule a call with me. Let's map out your strategy and get you moving before another year slips by.